Alright, what is up? What is going on, guys? It's your boy Chumbles, and I'm back, and this time I'm going to be showing you guys something different. I'm going to be showing you guys how to remove surface rust off of your car. Now here you can see it's pretty bad, guys. It's pretty bad on this car. This car needs a lot of work, but it's an 03, so it's almost to be expected in a way. But I've just started sanding, and I decided, you know what, let's make this into a video because maybe I could help some of you guys out. You guys don't want the rust to get this bad. Now, what's actually good about this is just by putting my hand over it, I can already tell it doesn't have any major holes or anything. So what that means is I don't have to actually put that much body filler into this kind of surface rust. And if you guys have surface rust like this, then stick around because I'll show you guys how to fix it. Alright guys, so first things first is you have to remove all the rust. Now going just about a 1/4 inch past where all the rust is will give you a good indication of the fact that you've pretty much just removed it all. So what I've done is I used this 3M 40 grit sandpaper, and I've just carefully removed the rust with the sanding block. And you know, you don't want to make the damaged area too much, you know, you don't want it to be worse than when you started. So we're gonna take our 320 after, again 3M, all the products will be in the description, by the way. And we're just gonna lightly sand it just to make the area smoother. So between the fresh paint here and the clear coat with the rusted area, you want this whole area to be smooth, because when you paint it, if you have any divots or holes or anything like that, it will show up through the paint. And I mean, at least the rust will be gone, but you will have a product that you might not be happy with by the end. So in my opinion, spend the extra little bit of money to have this fixed properly with getting the right tools, because you don't want to cheap out on this stuff. And it's like $4 or $5, like Canadian too. So I'm not sure how much it is for Americans or anywhere else, but I say go ahead and spend the money, get the tools that you need. And it's not that much, guys, it really isn't. So after you're done sanding this down, making sure all of the rust is gone, I'm gonna actually hit this again just to make sure all the way across. And as you can see there, probably a little more, if it'll focus. No? Yeah, see, I need to hit that a little bit more, but you can see how I went past where the damaged area is, because I want to make sure I'm actually covering everything. If you don't cover everything, you don't remove the rust, odds are it's coming back in maybe a year or two, maybe sooner depending on weather conditions. So just do your best to get this done properly, and let's get into it. So once you've finished sanding, we're gonna go ahead and hit it with some body filler, very, very light coat, just to spread it thin to give it a more protective layer. And then we're gonna sand that down, put another body filler cream, and then we're gonna prime it and paint it. Alright guys, now we have finished sanding this with our 320, going over it just a few times here, and you guys can see that shine, baby. You can see the shine through the good metal still. And once you're done, you want to go ahead and take, I use the alcohol there. You guys can use whatever kind of degreasing compound you would like. I just have a whole bunch of the alcohol stuff. I think it's the cheapest option in my opinion. You get it from Costco or something, or Amazon in a pack, and you can use it for pretty much your lifetime of working on cars. And once you are done that, we're going to be the Bondo step. Now, because this is surface rust, something to mention is that technically you don't actually even need to use this stuff, because you're already removing the rust and it's just surface rust. It's not very deep, like I mentioned. If it is deep, you're gonna have to use a gold filler like this one, as well as probably a fiberglass one that I would use around thicker parts of the car that are, again, deep grooves, and you have like a bunch of damage to the car that you need to reshape. So if you're not reshaping like I'm not, then technically you don't need to use this, but in my opinion, it's better just to use this, spend the extra $20, try and get a smoother finish once we go over it again with the sandpaper. So we're going to use the Bondo. Again, we're going to go very thin and light over the rusted areas. And then we're going to sand that down, and then we're going to use the glazing and spot putty. And once again, we are going to sand that down again, get the area super fine and smooth, and then we will be on to the painting process. All right, guys, we got the Bondo gold filler in there. And like I mentioned, we're not using a lot, so look how tiny that is. Like, that's my finger, guys. I'm using like a finger, about 2 fingers full. And if you guys need more, you guys can always put more. So in my opinion, always put a lot less than you think you might need, because you can always just add more at no additional cost or anything like that. The key here is just to be patient with this. Take your time, don't rush through this. And we're going to use our hardener cream. So what you're going to want to do is just take the hardener cream, and you're just going to run a bead over the diameter of whatever kind of surface you're using, as long as it's about an inch or half an inch ish full, which this is about once you kind of add it all together, and that'll give you the perfect amount. You won't have to worry about the ratios or any kind of weird thing like that. Like, what they tell you to do on this is like unrealistic in my opinion, like a golf ball size for like whatever kind of size this thing says. I don't know. In my opinion, just do it this way, and it always works for me. And again, you can use whatever kind of size you want. You don't have to follow a golf ball size, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. So when you take your hardener, you want to just squish it, especially if it's been sitting for a little bit, or even if it's brand new, because the odds are it's sitting in the store. So you're going to just want to take this, squish it up, just like that. And then you're going to run it across, like I mentioned. You don't have to use a lot, just like blop. That's it, right? I can't show you the process because I'm going to go ahead and do it. You have about 5 minutes. It's actually kind of hot where I am right now, and the heat will actually make this dry up even faster. So I can't really show you guys that part, but what you're going to want to do is take your plastic, whatever, squishy thing. I call it a squishy thing. You're going to take your plastic thingy, squishy thing, and you're just going to grab it, and you're just going to push it down flat. So like this, and you're going to push it like that, then you're going to scoop it, and then you're going to push it flat, scoop it, push it flat. And the idea is to get no air bubbles. If you get air bubbles in, it'll show up through the paint, which again, you don't want. So take your time with it. You have about, I'd say 40 seconds, depending on where you are because of the heat. And yeah, like I said, just keep squishing it flat over and over and over again. When you're about at the 40-second mark, as long as it turns into like a reddish color because of the color of the hardener, that's when you know it's all ready, once it's one unified color. And I'll show you guys that once I finish and whatever is left on this plastic. All right, guys, so we just put on the hardener. So as you can see, that is the color that I'm talking about, and we're just spreading it super thin. Like, try to get an angle for you guys to show you just how like thin I'm actually layering this. Now the idea is just, again, this stuff is a body filler. I don't really need the body to be filled that much on the car, but it will get the little dividends and the little very small holes. And then once we put the glazing putty over it, that'll get even more of the holes gone, and you'll get this nice uniform flush paint color, which in my opinion, it's worth spending the extra $20 to do so. Getting a nice result out of your car, in my opinion, is much more worth the $20 than it is for your car to look ugly. So, you know, you can skip this step if you'd like. I wouldn't skip the glazing and spotting putty though, because that will help quite a bit. Again, in my humble opinion, just spend the money, guys. This is going to cost you basically like $100 to fix, instead of, I got quoted at the garage, no joke, for this $600, guys. $600, and we're gonna fix this in one day in my garage with under 100. So we're gonna keep going ahead. I'm gonna get some more. As I mentioned, it dries up super fast. Like, this stuff's probably, it's already hard. It's literally been the transition between the last clip and this one, literally like not even 2 minutes. So here is the putty. Look at that, guys. Look how much I couldn't even use before it hardened up. This is what I'm talking about when I mentioned you guys don't need to use a lot. So again, the technique, just squish it down, flatten it. You guys can see the marks where I'm actually scooping it. The way that I scoop it is I just use the tip of the squishy thingy, and I just get a little bit on the tip, and then I go and I place it down and I flatten it. In my experience, if you do a lot, where you grab a lot, you're gonna end up with really bad lines. It's gonna cause more work just fixing it with the sanding, which can also cause more errors, because you're probably gonna end up hitting more spots than you need to on the car with the sandpaper. And it's just more work and more time and all that. So take your time, use a little bit, and if you need more, you can go ahead and put more. And I'm gonna go ahead and do just that, and then I'll see you guys in the next clip. All right, guys, now we have sanded down, put the glazing spot putty in, and we are ready to prime. So this is the primer that I'm gonna be using right here. Again, link will be in the description. What I've done here is actually do this rounded effect with the tape. So as you can see, it's all rounded there, and with some paper above as well, just so when we spray it down, we'll get this nice feathering effect instead of harsh tape lines. And this is a good way to basically make sure that the paint job will come out looking good and not looking weird, like you've actually done work to it. And that's kind of the whole point. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna spray this down with primer. We're gonna hit it a couple times. We're gonna do light coats, very light, far away. If you're in your garage, I definitely recommend closing the garage door so you don't get any wind. I don't know if you guys can hear the wind right now, but there's wind coming in. You wanna make sure it's not windy. You don't want this stuff going everywhere. But I did tape off the rest of my car, put a towel as well, just for good measure. You don't want that stuff on your windshield. And yeah, we're gonna do light coats, follow the directions for whatever primer you're gonna use. If you decide to use that one, again, follow the directions. We're gonna do light coats. We're gonna hit it 2 or 3 times with light coats, and then we'll get to putting the paint. All right, guys, now this is all primed up after our 3 coats. You can feel just a tiny bit of transition between, which is completely fine because we're about to hit it with 600 grit. And what this will do is smooth down the area even more between the old paint and the new paint that will be going on. And then we'll have this really smooth transition that you won't even be able to know that the new paint was even added. And look at that, you can tell already where the rust used to be. You can't even tell. And we still have the rest of our painting to go. So let's get into this. It did have a little bit of a harsh tape line, but it doesn't matter because we're actually spray painting the whole thing here. We brought the paper a little closer now. The reason why it's not just completely over is because of the paint here, and there was little scratches here. So personally, I'd rather just paint it, get the good like haze going or whatever. and that way it just all looks fine. And then once you wet sand it, you can just hit this a little bit with the wet sand, and then it'll come out all super smooth. It'll all look like one just uniformed piece, and it won't look out of place. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. So when I'm gonna spray it, let me grab the can. So I have the spray can here of the color coat. Make sure you guys go get whatever the color code for your car is. And I'm gonna be spraying it for here. I'm gonna be spraying it down this way. And the reason is because I don't want the spray to get in like way back there, right? So just use different spray patterns to get the areas that you need to get. This is the final product after doing the 3 coats here. Now I don't recommend doing any more coats, but here you can see kind of the difference between this paint and that paint right here. So you can see that paint and then this paint that is curing. The line looks a lot harsher just because of 1, the angle that I'm at, and 2, because this paint is still curing, which is why I'm not touching it, and this is obviously old paint. So what we're gonna do in the next video after this sits for about 2 days, we want to give this a lot of time to cure with the clear coat and the paint that is combined in this. We're going to go ahead and wet sand this, and once we wet sand right into the old paint and the new paint, you guys won't even be able to tell a difference. And just look how good this came out. Guys, this was all rusted before, remember? All the way down here was all rusted. And now look at it. And this was for under $100. Now you guys could leave it like this if you wanted to, but personally I recommend wet sanding. It's just a little bit of steps, and then you go ahead and you polish it, and the shine will look so good, and then it will look like one complete form. But honestly, at this point, it's not even that bad. And if you did this in certain spots of your car, you literally wouldn't even be able to tell a difference. Now, because this is on the hood, it's a little more noticeable, but if it's about around the wheel well or just at a part of the car that's not really looked at or near the bottom, you guys don't even need to wet sand if you don't have to or if you don't want to. But this is the final result after painting. There you go, you can see the difference a little more there, but once again, this is still curing, so this is going to change a little bit in color, and then once you wet sand right here, you guys won't even be able to tell the difference. And if you guys are interested, I will be doing that video next in a few days. So make sure to hit the like button, comment down below if you guys are going to try this out. Let me know what your results were, and make sure to subscribe if you guys want more of these kinds of videos. And hopefully I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, you let the talk, I don't talk, I get it. Yeah, you know I'm about it, if it kill me, I'ma let it. Run into the bag like I'm so athletic. I've been up since 6, making hits like tennis. I've been on fire, I just need my credit. Wanna go far, need to change my settings. Reaching for the stars so my feet touch heaven. Haven't had first, bitch, already want seconds. Wanna be on top, popping off like a fofo. Life been going fast, I've been trying not to go slow. I just hit the gas, now I'm faded, going slow-mo. You think you gon' pass, but you tripping, that's a no-go.